I'd like to read something from an adult literacy learner. Since I have been working on my GED, I found myself changing for the better. It's a wonderful feeling to have my youngest son, Trayvon, come to me more frequently for help on his homework. When he came to me for help before I started my GED, it was very difficult to understand what his teacher wanted him to do. Now I understand his work and why it is important for him to understand as well. The workforce world has also opened up to me. Since I only have one test to pass before my GED becomes a reality, I did get a job. You can imagine how happy I felt. In the past, my applications were not accepted and paying my bills on time was almost impossible. Now that I have a job, this problem no longer exists. This was written by Benita Cromwell, who is an adult literacy learner at Milwaukee Achiever Literacy Services. I've been associated with adult literacy for going on 20 years in a whole range of positions, starting from volunteer tutor all the way to board member. So I do have a background in this area. And is literacy, adult literacy in particular, important? Well, first of all, let me define what literacy is. Literacy is the ability to understand, evaluate, use, and engage with written text to participate in society, achieves one's goals, and develops one's knowledge and potential. That's kind of a lot. That's a big handful. But literacy basically makes it possible to interact with other people via written words. And it's really important. It impacts people's lives. Adult literacy impacts people's lives in terms of jobs and wages, in terms of teaching children. Both of these Benita pointed out to us. It also affects them in terms of health and in crime. Adult literacy, or lack thereof, is a problem in the U.S., and it's especially a problem in the Milwaukee area. There is a large prevalence of illiteracy in the U.S. Of 22 OECD countries, which is basically the wealthiest 22 countries in the world, the U.S. ranked 16th in terms of literacy. In the U.S. today, 15% of adults, more than 34 million people, cannot read better than an average third grader. In Milwaukee, 1 in 5 adults in the city of Milwaukee do not have even basic literacy. What is basic literacy? Basic literacy is literacy of approximately a fifth grader. My daughter's a fifth grader, and she's an absolutely marvelous reader. And while she's very successful as an 11-year-old, I imagine her future would be rather bleak if she maintained the same literacy skills as an adult. 1 in 5. The impact of literacy covers a wide range of things. It impacts jobs and wages. It impacts children's literacy, so the children of adults who have low literacy. It impacts health, and it impacts crime. Unemployment for those with low literacy is about 14.5%. That's actually not a terrible number. What it does show is that many people who with low literacy skills do in fact have a job. But it's significantly higher than those with high school education or a GED. Now it really shows up when you talk about wages. The average annual earnings of someone without a high school diploma is about $20,000. That's barely enough. That's just a little bit above the poverty range for a small family. Once you get yourself a high school diploma, that's going to raise up to about $30,000. And what has been shown over and over is the higher your literacy goes, the more education you achieve, the higher your earnings will be in any given year and certainly over your lifetime. Children's literacy. The effect of adult literacy or lack thereof on children is a very, very big factor. In Milwaukee, Milwaukee Public Schools is the largest public school, is the public school organization, and they have a graduation rate of between 62 and 66%. It's improved in recent years, but that means nearly 40% of students who start 9th grade are not graduating. Where are these people going? What is happening to these children who are becoming adults? Many of them become illiterate adults, unfortunately, or those with low literacy skills. And what's been shown again and again is that children are 10 times more likely to have low literacy skills if their parents also have low literacy skills. This is not, and this is much higher than it is in other countries. This is a particular factor in the U.S. Other countries, that rate is much lower. So it's not a given. It's not stated that just because your parents have low literacy that your children must. But in the United States, it's a very, very good indicator. If your parents have low literacy, then the children likely will too. So parents, in order to improve the lives of their children, would do well to improve their own literacy. Low literate persons are 4 times more likely to indicate that they have only fair to poor health. So their health is not as good. They're not as healthy. They feel ill more. This is probably because they don't accumulate good information about health literacy, and also because of that, low literacy costs the U.S. about $230 billion a year. Another factor in this is literacy, or higher literacy, is often associated with lower violence and crime. If you look at the prison population, 75% of state prison inmates have low literacy, and 59% of federal prison inmates have low literacy. On the other part of that is, if you're a young offender and you're in prison and you earn yourself a GED while in prison, the rate at which you will be rearrested, convicted, and re-imprisoned is much lower than if you don't get a GED. If you get a GED, the rate of recidivism is about 33%, while if you don't get a GED, that recidivism rate is about 46%. So let's consider, is Vanita right about some of the things that she said about her gaining additional literacy and getting a GED? She did it for a couple reasons. She did it in order to improve her life via a better job, and she did it to improve her son's life. And I think that if we look at the statistics and what's been shown, that she is in fact doing that. So I care about literacy. Vanita definitely cares about literacy, and the impact that it will have on Trayvon, her son, shows that he also cares about literacy.